like a rock
Where was your
star.
craziest, like a rock star?
Oh yeah.
Where was like the coolest place to party during all your
All my time partying.
in the military or anything like that?
Dude, there's so many like good spots, but like in my life, it would be Medellin, Colombia. Have you
Self-explanatory.
been there?
I've been.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Nice.
a good time.
Yes, it
What
is.
you were doing some crazy shit there too, no?
Yeah.
When did you go to Colombia?
I bounced in and out of there for, I don't know, 5, 6 years. Really grew fond of cocaine and women. There was so much partying that it got kind of boring. I'm not condoning that, by the way. I'm sober now.
Yeah.
I haven't even had a drink in 3 years. But so it was a bad time, and I OD'd a couple times down there. But yeah, I started trying to build like kind of like a cocaine network just to feed my adrenaline because I was so used to like being in combat. Like I wanted to chase that feeling again.
And this is post CIA?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wasn't getting it anymore. I just started going to like the most dangerous places uh, that I could find in Colombia and meeting with dealers and meeting with the dealers that feed the dealers and kind of like set up this whole network. And so the thing was going to be was basically, I mean, you get a lot of the Americans, Italians, Spanish people that go down there and they want to have a good time, but they don't want to deal with the Colombians because they're scared they're going to get their head chopped off or
Yeah.
something. And so
They
I
want
was
safe,
like,
reliable cocaine,
yeah.
someone they
And
could
so I
trust.
was just like, well, I'll just be the intermediary. And because I taught myself how to speak Spanish in jail, but and down there, and so I would just be the intermediary and make whatever they wanted to happen. And it never wound up like going to that, but I had everything pretty much in place. And then, like I said, I had OD'd a couple times and woke up uh, like on the floor. Like I started feeling like,
That's when cocaine becomes not fun.
yeah, I
Yeah.
remember like my best friend told me, he was like, you don't need to worry. He's like, dude, you're on speed. You don't need to worry. When you're on speed and then it starts to slow down, that's when you're skirting the line. I had that happen a couple times. I didn't want my parents to like get a call like, "Hey, we just found your son decomposing in a fucking penthouse in Medellin."
Hmm.
I knew I had to get out of there, and then the federal police were on to me anyways. They'd set up a hide site across the way, on the building adjacent from me, and were monitoring me. So I kind of like, uh,
Just dipped, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, bought a couple of different plane tickets, different locations, and
Wow, got that hot.
I mean, and I'm like kind of trying to get out of shit like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So it got pretty intense, man. Like the addiction to adrenaline was just like overcoming me. I remember Googling the most dangerous place in the world, and at the time it was San Pedro Sula, Honduras. And I was like, all right, bucket, let's go to Honduras. Let's go to San Pedro Sula. Went there, messing around and shit. I should have messed around there. Got arrested there. And then right before I cut it, I was like, man, there's starting to be a lot of Americans. And I never wanted to be around Americans. So I never went to Bogota because I didn't want to be around the embassy.
Mm.
And I used to go to Cartagena. And then after the Secret Service sex scandal, that was like, it brought a ton of Americans there. So that's when I went to Medellin and I went to Cali and Pareda and all these different places. And then I started bouncing around to Lima, Dominican Republic, Panama, Costa Rica, Honduras. And then I was like, the coke trade was like moving down to Bolivia. I was like, nobody goes to Bolivia. So I was going to go to Bolivia and then smartened up and got my shit together. It took a long time to get it together, but
And that was just chasing adrenaline,
yeah,
you think? Not money or really
I didn't
just
care about money, man. Like, you know how it is down there. The dollar goes a long ways, in those places, especially a place like Honduras or Bolivia. I had made a pretty decent amount of money contracting, at least at the time. It wasn't about money, man. It was like, how deep into this can I get before I get killed? I mean, I don't know how familiar you are with Medellin, but did you ever go to Barrio
we
Antioquia?
went there, right, Medellin? Yeah.
Barrio
Yeah.
Antioquia is like you can't even get in there unless you go through several checkpoints.
Okay. We probably didn't
So
go there.
a white boy going into that neighborhood, they're like, "What are you doing?" And I would go in there in the daytime. I would go in there at nighttime and like start at the bottom with the street dealers and work my way up. And it got pretty dicey.
How
And
crazy are those cartels? Like, is there any crazy stories? Like close calls?
I mean, dude, there was like so many times down there. Did you ever go to Fahrenheit? There used to be this place down there, and all the tables were black, and they would have like lines of what looked like coke and little mounds and shit, you know, and they lacquered over it.
Wow, that's like a movie.
So that way nobody could tell if you were actually doing coke or not. We would frequent there. I would frequent there. Well, I say we, but like usually I was down there by myself. And I mean, I had guys come down like, I want to experience this, and then they'd be like,
Get me the fuck out.
yeah, I'd wake up and they'd be gone. I'd be like, where'd you go? And they're like, dude, you're fucking crazy. I grew up in a farm town, and I used to bring one of my buddies down there. I mean, it's farm town USA, dude, and he never really left there, so he didn't have these kind of experience. And I would bring him down and be like, check this shit out. He made a lot of money for being in a small farm town,
Mm,
but then he comes down there and like, and so he had like, he was a confident guy. I'll
right.
put it that way. He was hitting on somebody's girl or something like that happened, and I watched him do the rally. Like I watched the head nods happen. They followed him into the bathroom. This is probably like 10 or 11 the next day. Like we would just go
Damn.
like for days.
12 p.m.s?
Dude, it was just,
My record's like 1, and it hurts.
we would have been good friends back in the day.
Yeah.
But
I know, he's like a Nelk boy from the past. But way more badass, but yeah.
I remember going in there and I was like, they're gonna fucking kill him. So I ran in there and like I was able to like kind of de-escalate it because I built like a pretty big reputation in Medellin, especially, and nobody really knew. Do we fuck with this guy? Do we not? Why is he here? How is he so connected? How is he confident enough to run around with a Rolex in these parts of town?
What were you dressing like at the time?
Like just to the nine, dude. Like
Like white guy in Colombia with the Rolex, like
everything.
just flashy,
Like super flashy. But it was like for
pretty
that
sauce. Yeah,
overconfidence.
yeah.
And because I wanted to confuse them and I knew Spanish. Like I had everything, man. And I had like a pretty big network. So it would confuse them and they would be like, maybe we don't want to fuck with this guy. We don't know who he's attached to, even though I wasn't really attached to anybody, but it put fear in them where
Mm-hmm.
and and the girls I would run with would tell me, like I would ask them, like, why aren't they, you know, what's the deal? Why is everybody like looking at me or scared of me or whatever? And they'd be like, they don't know like who you are. It's weird for somebody like you to be there and be that confident and know the lingo and the slangs
Mm-hmm.
and the prices and like all of that. Anyways, I ran in there and like was able to de-escalate it, but had I not, he would have been cut up and bleeding out on the floor.